I swear I told you that we met on Grindr. They found out, the doctors found out that she had a very small hole in her heart. I was ready to be like, I think the universe, God is telling us like, we're not supposed to be parents. So I actually have a question. When
this is our podcast.
I know, but I was like, I thought of a question. Oh my.
Welcome to the Who's Your Daddy podcast, where we work to demystify the process of starting a family through non-traditional means.
From foster to adoption to IVF and surrogacy, come along as we navigate this tricky space on our own journey to fatherhood.
Together, we hope to gain insight and answer as many questions as we can.
We are your hosts and husbands, Michael and Matt, and today we are going to talk to
Bryan
from Bryan and Chris.
Yay!
Yay!
Thank you for coming.
I'm so glad to be here.
Thank you for petting our dog.
Oh, she's so sweet.
I am so happy to have you as our first in-person guest here at the house / makeshift studio.
I feel so honored to be here, for sure.
And we're just so excited to dive in and talk to you about all things parenting. First of all, I just want to give us a little bit more background, because we've talked quite a bit, but I still haven't gotten the full story of who you are, where you're from, where you grew up, and how you got to where you are today. So you were saying you grew up in Riverside?
I did.
Riverside, California.
The Inland Empire, the IE 909.
Ooh, and where do you live now?
San Diego, California.
Well, I knew that.
Sunny
but I wanted
San Diego.
everyone to know.
Yes.
And so you grew up in Riverside, and you're married to Chris.
Yes.
All right. Tell me a little bit about how did you guys meet? Where did you meet? How did that whole thing go down?
So we met in 2011. We met online well before the Tinder swipe left, swipe right days.
Wow.
And we met at an Italian restaurant.
Wait, how do people meet without Tinder and the swiping?
It's an app that kind of rhymes with Tinder.
Oh, so it was still an app.
Mm-hmm.
Grindr?
Grindr. Well,
oh my God.
I think that's what it's called. I swear I told you that we met on Grindr.
No, I swear to God. Okay, so I'm pretty sure we were talking about this last night, maybe 2 nights ago. And I thought you said you couldn't remember the
Grindr?
the website that you guys met on.
I might have said that because I was just meeting some of your friends. I was like, do they need to know that we met on Grindr?
Oh my God.
Oh, they do not care.
That crowd. Yeah. I mean, they were talking about other things.
We usually leave with we met on a dating app, and then we kind of leave it there. But if people want to know which one, then normally we'll just
Farmers only.
Yeah. Oh, hot.
So you guys met for dinner.
We did. We actually talked for several months before we even met. Our schedules were just kind of completely opposite, and I had never really been to the San Diego area before, and Chris invited me out. We had dinner at this adorable Italian restaurant, and the first date did not go according to plan. It didn't go very well. No,
this
was
is news to me.
It was a terrible date on my behalf. I won't go into the full scope, but there was a lot of drama happening in my life, and I don't think I was actually ready to go out on a date, but I was told by several friends that I should try. And there was just a lot of stuff going on, and the date was not what most people expect or hope for a first date. And luckily, Chris is a saint and gave me a second chance, and we went out on his birthday as our second date. And that date went so much better. complete opposite of our first date.
Wow. Dang. Okay, so second chances. That's good.
Yeah, second chances. And then from there, it was kind of, the rest was history from there. He got to see the real me, and we got to know each other.
You got married next week.
We got married the week after, absolutely. No, we dated for 5 years, actually. We actually got married on the same day we met. So we kind of kept our anniversary date, which is October 9th, and used that same date when we got married
so
5 years
later.
You're like a
Libra couple.
Libra Cancer, yeah.
No, I mean your wedding your wedding and your anniversary is October 9th. When's Chris's birthday?
October 17th.
Oh, and mine's the 18th.
Yeah,
Like birthday twins.
Yeah.
So your surrogacy journey, you captured and shared everything through the whole process from beginning to end on TikTok and Instagram. How was that kind of like going through the process in such a public way?
Well, can we do one thing right before that? When did the discussion of family come up? Let's like rewind a little bit before we start documenting it. Like, was it date 1, date 2 that we started talking about
Definitely not date
family?
1. I would say like about a year into the relationship, we had the conversation about like whether each of us wanted kids or not. I've always wanted kids since I was really young, just having that whole picture of, the house, the picket fence and the 2.5 kids and the dog.
American dream.
And so did Chris. But at the time, like both of us didn't really know what that would look like, because gay marriage wasn't allowed yet. And, all
What
this
year
kind
is
of
this? Just roughly.
2011 is that's when we met. So maybe 2012, I think.
Oh, okay.
Because gay marriage was approved in California 2015, I want to say. And then like a few years later, it was the rest of the country, or I could be off.
2015 was the Supreme Court decision for the whole country.
For the whole country.
And then was it
was like
2011, 2013 for California?
It was a few years before that. And actually, both of them happened on my birthday. On June 26th, which was really, really
No
cool.
way. Oh, that's kind of wonderful.
Yeah, I loved it. It was
my
great.
God.
Yeah, and that was before Chris and I got married. And so a year later, if it was 2015 for the Supreme Court for the entire country, we got married a year after that. And it was really, really neat.
Wow.
I kind of felt honored to have my birthday share those milestone dates, which is really cool.
Yeah, how cool. Oh my God.
But yeah, we had the discussion and we both wanted kids, but we didn't know what that looked like, whether it would be through surrogacy, if it would be through adoption, foster care.
Right.
And then we, as the years progressed, we had more and more conversations about wanting to expand our bloodline and have, kids that are biologically related to us. And so surrogacy was the decision, but we also didn't know, okay, what does that look like cost-wise, all that kind of stuff. And so we had to do a little bit of research and chat with people in the industry, friends, that had done it before, and we made the decision from there.
And you also started this process kind of like within the pandemic.
Yes. So as you mentioned earlier, we met in March of 2020 in person, at least, and then we made the decision to start our surrogacy journey in June of that same year, which was kind of a tough decision to make because we were thinking, like, should we wait? Because everyone's telling us you're going to have so many delays, it's going to cost more. And at that time, none of us knew how long the pandemic would go.
Right.
And we're like, are we willing to wait 1, 2, 3+ years to continue this or to start this journey?
It's like, well, if I start now and I have to wait longer, why would it make sense to start later? I'm just delaying the wait, essentially. That's probably not the point that would make me say yes or no. It would be like, is it smart? Like, how long is this thing gonna last? Like, is it still gonna be a huge issue? Is it still gonna be really, really globally infectious? Like when our baby comes into the world, and that is stressful. So.
No, absolutely, because there were discussions of like, okay, say we matched really fast and we got the whole all the preliminary procedures done early, like would we even be able to be in the same hospital room as our surrogate? And to witness our children being born, that was a huge deciding factor. And even then, like there was a lot of stuff was still up in the air. There was a lot of uncertainty, so that was a little nerve-wracking. But
so back to your question of documenting everything. Sorry, I just wanted to get a little bit.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what was that process like?
I mean, a lot of it was really new to us. So we were kind of I was kind of just, sharing as the weeks went on and tried my best to, document what we were going through, going to all the different appointments and going through meeting, matching with surrogates and interviewing surrogates, egg donors, meeting our IVF doctors, all the lawyers that were involved. Like a lot of it was, again, brand new for us because we had never done it before. So we were kind of just doing it off of, flying off the seat of our pants. But luckily, the way we were documenting it, I think people really gravitated towards it. And I tried to make it, I guess, as educational as possible because even to this day, a lot of people don't really understand the process of surrogacy and how it all happens. So I feel like obviously we did something right. A lot of people have continued to follow our story even now after our beautiful angels are born.
Yeah.
But it was a learning experience, but I really loved being vulnerable and showing some of those emotional parts. Like I remember filming in the doctor after the embryos have been transferred and she was pregnant. We were her monitoring doctor. Sorry, we were at the monitoring doctor's office and we were doing our fetal heartbeat checkup. It was the very first appointment to hear the fetal heartbeat, and I thought I had stopped recording my camera because I wanted that to kind of be an intimate moment for the first time, and I didn't hit the record button or didn't stop recording, and I was hugging Chris as we were hearing the heartbeat, and you can hear it in the background, and you can hear me like pretty much crying into the phone a little bit. And I wasn't sure if I wanted to share something like that, but at the same time, so many other people accepted that, and they really loved that they got to be a part of that really small, intimate moment, or actually not small, very big, intimate moment for us, that we heard heartbeats from both of our beautiful babes. So yeah.
What was the feeling like when you first heard that?
It's weird because you see the embryos on all the ultrasounds grow and grow and grow, and you sort of think that you understand it, and then the minute you hear that heartbeat, it all changes. It's like, it's always been a living thing, but having that heartbeat attached to it just made it that much more real. Yeah. And knowing that both of those beautiful little creatures were going to turn into our babies, it was just really, really magical and beautiful at the same time.
I'm glad that you have that moment, like, even if you didn't share it, that like you had it in your phone for you.
Yeah.
And then like choosing to share it obviously is totally your decision, and I'm glad that people resonated with it. That's so cool.
I guess that is a big plus about wanting to share everything, is that like you said, whether we decide to share every piece of the journey or not, I have that documented in my phone via video or photos. A lot of people don't do that, and they just have that memory in their brain, and over time some of it might become a little faded, or they might not remember all the little details, and I'm so glad that we documented almost every aspect of the journey.
It's like a digital scrapbook of memories.
To look back
which is
10
really
years
cute.
from now and to show them like, these are you
Oh
guys.
my
Look at your little
God.
heartbeat going on the ultrasound. It was beautiful.
And they're going to be like, Dad,
Yeah.
so embarrassing. Oh my God.
You showed us, what we looked like back then. I'm like, yeah, of course.
So when were the babes born? When were they born?
When were they burped?
And,
When were they
that's what I was gonna
birthed?
say, when they first burped.
When were they born?
They were born on March 9th, 2022.
Yes. So it was about like a year and a half after you started surrogacy.
From the very beginning, it was to the time that they were born,
Almost
it
2
was
years.
21 months.
21 months.
Yeah.
That's like pretty like right on par, I would say,
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
They say like 18 to 24
18
months.
to 20, yeah, 18 to 24. It felt longer, I think, because we had a lot of setbacks and redos. I know we were talking about that the other day.
What setbacks and redos?
So no, of course. Our first set of setbacks was with our egg donor. We had matched with a gal that we saw her profile that our agency had set up with us. We had an interview, if you will, with her, and she was great. Kind of checked all the boxes, family health history. She's had successful transfers. But then by the time she got to the screening with our IVF doctor, because once you match, they go through like a psych evaluation. They get checked out by the IVF doctor to make sure everything is good to go. And he saw her file, and even though she did have successful transfers, she had done several. I would say at least 7 or 8, which is quite high.
Whoa.
So she started very young, which is fine. I mean, that's when I guess eggs are most fertile and you have better chances as you're younger. But he noticed the numbers started going down, and he was nervous that this could be her 8th or 9th transfer for us. Would she produce a healthy number of eggs? And he recommended that we not go in that direction with her, and we trusted him, and we were a little sad because obviously we had met her via the Zoom interview, if you will,
Right.
And she was very sweet, but we wanted to make sure we had our best chances moving forward.
Was that a strange request? Like when we were, and this is like the 7th time I probably said this, but when we were looking for egg donors, we were like, are we just supposed to pick? Like, do we get to talk to them? And they're like, well, you don't usually talk to them, but I guess we can ask. And then they did, and we did like 2 Zoom interviews, and the second one was just sort of like, it just felt right.
Yeah.
But was that like a thing that you had to request, or was it like
the agency
normal?
offered it, but they did say most people don't interview the egg donors, but if you want and they're open to it, you certainly can. We didn't, surprisingly, when we unmatched with our first and we matched with our second. We never actually talked to her. I think we wanted to, because we were kind of like disappointed that the first one didn't work out, and
Didn't
we
want to
got
become like
super
attached. I guess,
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah. And so we just looked at her profile, and obviously we asked for certain criteria. We wanted her, based off of the recommendation of our IVF doctor, under 25. We wanted her to be local, just to help with costs with travel and things like that, and preferably a lower number of transfers. And the gal that we matched with, she had only done it once before. And then after once we confirmed our second egg donor, we started the process of matching or interviewing and matching with a surrogate,
Which I feel like is like one of the hardest parts.
It is.
I think like picking your egg donor was for us was just tricky because you're like, oh my God, this is like the mother portion of the genetics of our child. But we're in the surrogate like looking stage right now. And the like that person, it's like, oh my gosh, like where do they live? What do they eat? Like where, like how, what is their work life? Like how are they in a high stress job? Or I don't know. I feel like that there's just so many things to consider.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, and you really only get as much information as the agency provides you on their profile, and then obviously from the interview that you do via Zoom, and you hope that they're upfront and honest, and you ask all the questions that you want to ask, to make that decision to say, hey, will you carry and protect our little ones over the next 9 months? Yeah, huge decision. And we got really lucky in the beginning. We matched with our first surrogate right away. She just seems so perfect on paper. 2 peas in a pod. Her and I, we got along really well. And through the process of after matching, the psych evaluation, getting checked out, they found out, the doctors found out that she had a very small hole in her heart. And
oh my God,
she didn't even know that she had that. She's like, what? Like that's weird. Like I didn't even know that. Like, are you sure that's accurate? They did a second screening, and they said, yeah, to confirm, like you do in fact have one.
an
And our
echocardiogram kind of thing. Yeah.
And it took several months to process and to get the results because it was over the holidays. And so, and obviously with COVID, there were a lot of delays and shortages with staff and whatnot. But our IVF doctor said, I will not implant your precious embryos into this woman. I am so sorry that you have grown attached to her, because the whole process that we met her to the time that we had to stop was about 5 months. Like we got to know her really, really well.
Oh, wow.
Because the process took a while. Like to get the psych evaluation took, say, a few weeks, and then to get in with the doctor and to get checked out. And then once they found the hole in her heart, that whole process took, I think, 2 months long.
Because they had to do it twice.
Yes. And it was kind of devastating because we were like, we felt in our hearts that she was going to be our surrogate, and to know that our IVF doctor said, I will not touch her. The fact that she has this condition, it's a higher level of stroke for her. It can put her and the babies in danger. He's like, I won't do that. And we knew right away that was the right decision, but it was just so hard to have to say, we want you to be healthy and safe. You know, maybe this is like a way of the universe telling her, like, get this checked out, keep monitoring the situation, just because she has a son herself, you know?
Right.
And so maybe it was that positive, like, now you know you have this, make sure you monitor it. And then I think we got back on the bandwagon for our second surrogate about a month later. We waited until after the holidays. A lot of things were closed. And we were kind of guarded because we had already, like, again, created that bond and
relationship. You matched with an egg donor and you, like, created this beautiful connection, and then it didn't work out. And then you met a surrogate for 5 months and you were, like, so ready, and then it didn't work out.
Yeah.
I can, like, totally see why you were like, ugh, like,
get your hopes up, and then it just, like,
I
completely comes down again.
a little, defeated. You're like, ugh, how much time do I need to, like, just recover from the fact that, like, my dreams feel like they've been, like, squashed down a little bit.
Super guarded. And so Chris and I, because I don't think I said this in the beginning, we really wanted to find a surrogate and match with a surrogate that wasn't just a business transaction. We wanted to find someone that we would bond with, create a friendship with, potentially have her remain in our lives post babies, just to, stay in touch and have her meet them and watch them grow up. So when we had to search for our second, a lot of that changed. I was really hurt from just what had happened, and I'm like, I don't know if I feel the same way. Maybe we do want something a little bit more separate and not as so close. And so we found our second surrogate. We interviewed her, and I remember right after we were done, and we signed off, I was like, she's fine. Like, I think she'll do. And it kind of was weird to say that rather than be like, she's the one for us. Like she lives somewhat locally. Some of the qualifications to be a surrogate too, you have to have had children of your own, successful pregnancies, no high risk, nothing like that, and still be raising your children. And she was doing that. And we went ahead with the green light and we said, let's do it. And so again, psych evaluations, getting checked out with the IVF doctor, and all of that went great. And then right as she was receiving her first round of hormones to kind of get her body ready for the transfer, our surrogate emailed us and copied our IVF doctor and our surrogacy agency. And she said, I am so sorry. We can no longer proceed forward with their journey. I'm pregnant.
No. No.
Yeah. And that was something that we weren't expecting at all. Like, obviously with
you'd think if you like signed up, well, things happen.
Yeah.
Things happen.
I mean, and they're supposed to be very, very, very careful and follows a lot of guidelines. They're trained on like, all of this is super important. You must follow all these regimens. We don't know specifically exactly how she got pregnant. We think, changing over.
Congratulations to her.
Yeah,
but
exactly. Like
timing.
Yeah, the timing. I mean, she had even said that they didn't want more children. They were it was definitely not planned. So we were kind of thinking this is our own idea. She was on her current birth control. When you start the process to be a surrogate, you are given new birth control from the agency, from the IVF doctor, because everything is like a certain type that they use, all the hormones. And we think maybe she and her husband didn't wait that period of when you switch over from one birth control to another. If it's unprotected sex, it doesn't like change right there and there. I think it's like actually a few weeks, I think, to get it back on track. So we were thinking maybe that's what it was. But again, that was really devastating. And I think that's when I hit my bottom. I was ready to be like, I think the universe, God is telling us like, we're not supposed to be parents. And that really broke my heart because we wanted our own family so bad. And we are going through all of these hurdles. And now for a second time, we've lost our surrogate. And this is 2.5, 3 months after we had lost our first. So more time had gone by, more money had gone by. And I had told Chris, I was like, I don't think I can do this again. If we go back for a third time and we get something else happens, in addition to the expenses and the finances that go through it, I don't know how we're going to come out of it and how I'm going to deal with it, moving forward. And after losing our second surrogate, I think we took a longer break than the first. I think it was about 6 weeks. And then obviously after having the conversations with Chris and he kind of brought my spirits back up, we were ready to try again. And our agency was so lovely. The CEO of the agency got involved and she's like, I just have to let you guys know, like, yes, every surrogacy journey is different. It never goes perfect. But the fact that you guys have had to go through 2 egg donors and now you're on your third surrogate, that is not normal. And we're so sorry that you've had to go through it. I mean, obviously it wasn't their fault, but they felt responsible to try and help make it right. So like I said, with the timelines of trying to get to find a surrogate and to match, and then to go through the whole process of psych evaluations and tests, they really pushed in getting those appointments a lot faster, rather than say, oh, her psych appointment's not until 30 days. They got it within like 3 days. It was like, so they were able to cut off a lot of the time. But they actually gave us the profile of our third surrogate, and I felt really good about it. Almost the same feelings, to almost at the same point where I had the same feelings with our first surrogate. I was like, this is weird. I don't really want these feelings again, but I'm feeling really, really positive and excited from her profile. She's a 4'11" Asian woman, and I won't say her name just for confidentiality, but she was so sweet. She has 2 boys of her own. They are loving husband. They live in the Los Angeles area, so not far from where we're at.
Oh, wonderful.
And she had done surrogacy once before, so she technically, at least from our agency's perspective, she was called a proven surrogate. which
Oh,
means
a proven surrogate.
A proven
Okay.
surrogate, which means that she's not a first timer. The first two that we had, those were first time surrogates. She had done it once before, so she's considered a proven surrogate, which means that she's been through the process. She knows all the ins and outs, the risks, all the right things that she's supposed to do, all the things that she's not supposed to do, which in turn it costs a little bit more, but you pay for that, I guess, security and that experience. And I knew the moment we got off the Zoom call with her, I was like, she's it. And normally we don't make a decision that fast. You're not supposed to make a decision that fast. You're supposed to think about it, sit on it, whatever. We immediately called the CEO and we're like, we want her. Like, if she's willing to continue to want to carry twins for a gay couple, which she specifically asked for. She's like, this is my last journey. I'm going to be 40 next year. I would love to carry babies for a gay couple or for a couple within the LGBTQ
Was
plus
her
community.
age ever a concern for them? I wasn't sure. We haven't really, I guess, talked to our people about, like, is upper 30s like a no-go, or is it just sort of like a hey, maybe this is a higher risk, or
It's definitely not a no-go, but I think a lot of doctors will recommend someone who is younger, just because there could be potentially more complications with someone who is older.
Phenomenally.
Yeah, she carried those little nuggets all the way to almost full term, 37
That's
weeks.
like incredible.
Yeah, it was really funny because her OBGYN had said, due to her frame, due to carrying twins and the risks, she's not going to go past 37 weeks just for safety. We're like, okay, great. Like, fine. That sounds great. Then she's pick a date within this time frame. And we chose the 9th because that was also like from our anniversary, October 9th. So we're like, let's do March 9th just with that connection. But who's to say that they were going to come on the 9th? They could have come on the 2nd, the 1st, whatever. Nope. She cooked those babies, kept them nice and safe in her until that very day, which was pretty phenomenal.
That's just amazing. And they were like 6+ pounds each.
Yeah.
Right?
Brecken, our son's name is Brecken. Brecken was 7 pounds, 8 ounces, which is pretty large.
Bigger than my
for a twin.
Bigger than like half of my siblings' singletons.
Singletons could be are sometimes less than that.
Yeah.
I think I when I was born, I think I was just right at 8 pounds. So for my son to be 7 pounds, 8 ounces, to share a room with his sister in London was pretty remarkable. And
a woman who is a frame of
4'11", which they technically say doesn't matter, but also I'm like, I think it kind of does. She was so petite, and I'm like an all belly, obviously by the time the babies were ready to come, and she was so adorable.
My mom is probably that height.
Really?
And had 8 kids, and I was 9 pounds 9 ounces.
Your mom is just, oh my god. Woo! The team of doctors and nurses. I'm getting emotional. Oh my god, I haven't talked about this in a while. The team of doctors at our hospital were just phenomenal, and they gave us all the different tips and tricks and pointers to new parents, to new dads, of changing a diaper. I had changed plenty of diapers with my niece and nephew, my sister's kids, back in the day, but Chris had never changed a diaper in his life. And she was like, get ready. You're going to be changing hundreds, if not thousands of diapers, through their lifetime. And they just were just so wonderful and were almost like a second set of like parents to us when we were there, like making sure that, when the way we were holding them skin to skin, obviously the diaper changes, feeding them, in the hospital, because the babes were there. We were there for 2 nights post delivery.
That's it.
Which was actually shorter than we expected. But
And what was it like bringing them home? Like, what was that adjustment like for both of you, going from 0 kids to now having 2 newborns at the house?
it was. It's weird. It obviously prior to kids, our home, was designed and decorated the way we wanted it to. It was definitely not kid friendly, so there was a lot of prep to make it that way prior to bringing them home. But once we brought them home, it just felt like everything just fit. Everything just fell into place, and it's like almost like the house was like that the whole time, even before we brought them home, which was so weird. It just felt so right, and we had decorated their nursery well in advance, and my dad had helped me with that too, which was really, really sweet. And it just felt so perfect. And obviously having 2 very small infants in your home, and your schedule and everything is turned upside down, but you just you go with it. And it was definitely a learning experience, but it's
What
great.
things changed with your schedule and like how did you handle it? You know, like going from basically 0 to 100
Yeah.
all at once.
The biggest change is sleep. You really don't get sleep when you have newborns in your home, especially with two.
Are you on the wagon of like sleep when they sleep, or is that just like a silly phrase that people say and you're like, it's not possible? They have other things to do when they're sleeping.
In our specific situation, we definitely really I mean, when they were super, super, super little, like infants, newborns, we were able to sleep on and off a little bit because their schedule is pretty much just eat and sleep, eat and sleep. So you try to sleep when you can, especially in the middle of the night. But during the day, no. Like even though you are exhausted, that's the time to try and take care of other things as best you can. But sleep was our biggest hurdle because you're so used to having 7-8 hours of sleep usually, some or maybe less depending on your schedule, and to go from that routine, that norm, to having to feed your babies every 2.5 hours from the start of feeding them. So essentially, say you feed them at midnight, and you would think the feeding process would be pretty fast, and it's not. It's like from noon. I'm sorry, not noon. It would be from like midnight to like 12:45 because they drink so slowly. They don't drink super, super fast. And then once they're done, then you want to try and burp them. You change them. You wrap them back up in their swaddles.
I'm
you lay
getting
them
overwhelmed
down.
listening to you.
And by that point, it's
Sorry.
about 1:15 by that point potentially. So then you're like, okay, it's been an hour and 15 minutes. We have maybe another hour before we have to wake
So how
them
much
back
sleep
up.
do you think you were like actually getting?
Oh, in the beginning, because Chris and I both would wake up together to do it. Granted, if we only had one, I think we would have taken turns.
Right.
But with two, we both woke up in the beginning. Maybe a couple hours of
A
sleep.
night?
Because the feedings are so close to one another. It would be very, it was very
God.
difficult.
Were you napping during the day at all, or was it just like
Sometimes, but really not. I
for
think
the most part running on 2 hours a night? That just seems like how long can you do that before your body gives out?
in the beginning it actually seems pretty easy because you're just so excited. It's
Running on adrenaline.
and you have these new beautiful beings in your home, and all you want to do is just stare at them when they're sleeping, or you want to hold them while they're sleeping on you, or if they're in their bassinet or whatever you have. And that lasts maybe a couple months, and then after about 8 to 10 weeks, you're in that zone and mode of like,
Like zombie land.
you're exhausted. But luckily, as they get older, based off of the recommendations of your pediatrician, the feedings can be stretched out a little longer as they're getting older, as they're gaining weight. So that allows for a little bit more leeway in between. I'm really trying to remember because it seems so long ago, and obviously those first few months, it's just like a beautiful blur.
Were there ever nights where just one of you like got up to try and feed both of them in the middle of the night? Because like
Eventually, we got to that. So I think.
how's that
Let's see if
impossible?
Chris was here because his memory is like I think his memory is very much like your guys's. It's very like on point.
You don't remember very many things when you don't get sleep.
Yeah.
Truly,
No,
you
no,
know,
exactly.
It's hard for your brain to build
Yeah.
memory.
It's hard
if you
to
don't
it's hard
get
to
any sleep.
function, and every day is. I used to say to our family and friends, I was like, it's like Groundhog Day. It's the same thing every single day, and it's a repeat. There's not really a lot of different change. It's same regimen every day. But I think when they got to maybe 4 months, we were able to let them sleep a little longer. And then as they got older, we were eventually able to remove the middle of the night feeding. But that was like later. I want to say maybe 6 months at that point. But since Chris was working full-time, running his company, and I was the stay-at-home parent and the stay-at-home parent, we made an arrangement to where if he wanted to go to bed earlier, I would handle the feedings from like 8 to maybe like 1:30 in the morning, and then the next feeding when they would sleep longer would be like 3:30 and on. And he, with running his business, he's very stressed out a lot of the time, and he doesn't get that great of sleep anyway. So he's like, there's a 50-50 chance that I could be up at 3:30 even prior to baby. So he's like, I'll take that shift so you can sleep from like 3:30 to like 7 potentially before I go to work, and then you have them the rest of the day.
So was sleep the most difficult adjustment to make, or what was like the biggest challenge for you and Chris?
Sleep definitely was up there. I think selfishly, I mean, and you don't mean to be selfish, but even though we've been planning to expand our family, and it took 21 months, you're so used to your routine of what you love, to be able to travel, to be able to go out to dinner whenever you want, to be able to
I mean, it's a big change.
do
of
all
course.
sorts of things, to be able to halt that pretty much, and most, if not all, your focus is on taking care of those little miracles. It was hard. You adjust to it, obviously, for sure, and it does become your new norm, and you accept it, and become super, super excited and happy to do that. But that was a little difficult in the beginning because, again, it's even though you've been prepping for it and you've gone to all the appointments and they were born in the hospital and you bring them home, all that reality just sets in immediately, and you're like, oh shit.
Along with those challenges, were there things that came up that you just did not expect, that you're like, oh my God, I cannot believe that this is something that I have to deal with now as a dad? Something you didn't think about before, that you're like, oh, this is part of life now.
I think Chris would totally agree. I'm a big control freak. I would like to control a lot of situations to make sure that it goes.
Me too. Oh, we can relate on that.
To make sure everything goes exactly how you want it to be.
Yes.
And with kids, babies, newborns, it's all that's thrown out the window.
I'd like to challenge that.
I think some stuff. I think some things I'm still able to control. Luckily, because the babes have adapted to it and actually have thrived on it. Like our routine. The routine is the control that I still have to this day, and they love the routine that we have in place.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, a lot of people are saying, oh, you're not going to be able to get babies on a routine. They're their own people. They're going to do what they want, which is true. But also, we've been told that babies do thrive on a routine, but you have to make sure that if you instill a routine that you keep with it.
Yeah. How did you instill that and keep with it?
Really just kind of remembering to stay on schedule. And
Who helped you build the schedule, I guess? Like, was that just something innate that you were like, oh, we're going to wake up at this point and this is what we're going to eat and this is, or like, were you reading things? Were you?
Oh yeah,
like,
we definitely read
you know.
some books, some parenting books. We had a
What
lot
books?
of. Oh shit.
Not to put you on the spot.
We'll put
there-
them in the description.
I actually would like to know because I need to start reading.
There's a book that Chris did most of the reading. It was actually a parenting book more from a father's perspective, which was really cool because most of the parenting books are all from the mom's or the mother's perspective, and the dads are kind of like pushed off to the side because the stigma is that dads aren't as present or they don't help. In our case, we're both dads, and so it was kind of nice and refreshing to see their side of things and their ways of handling and learning on their own, and having wives that let them make I wouldn't say make mistakes, but let them try things their way rather than being told it must be done this way. And some things worked for us and some things didn't. And I would also say we had the help of our pediatrician. I cannot stress enough, if you find yourself an amazing pediatrician that is supportive of obviously you having your own family, but wanting the best for your kids, which hopefully all pediatricians want that because that's their job. But you can tell there's like a little bit of a difference. There's a little bit more personable, connection.
Okay, so I haven't heard that before, how important the pediatrician is.
Yeah.
And kind of like that early.
You assume that they're there for the medical
Yeah.
portion of
and
your
and they are
kids.
there for that, and they'll recommend, but we've definitely had off the record conversations with her because she's a mom herself, and obviously professionally she has to be careful on what she says to us. She's like, don't quote me on this XYZ.
Like off the record.
Yeah, but I mean, you can tell that she truly cared. It wasn't just like, oh, you're just another patient of mine. Like Brecken and London light up every time they see her when we go to an appointment, and it's
I can imagine what a difference that makes just in the adjustment at the beginning stages of parenthood.
because a lot of times when you go to the doctor, like, they're just, oh, you're my next patient. What's wrong with you? What can we do? And she's to this day, she's still very, very personal, and so sweet to the kids. She brings them books every time we come in, like little children's, like Dr. Seuss or Sandra Boynton books, which the twins love. She's just sweet. She just goes that little extra mile, and I think we really, really lucked out with her. I'm not saying everything she tells us that she recommends that we do, because obviously they're our kids and they're our family, and we'll do what we think is best, but we definitely lean and look to her for advice when needed. And also obviously from our parents and from other friends and family members who have had their own kids. But at the end of the day, every parent is going to do what they think is best. And you hope that that is the best choice going in as a new parent, because it's a learning curve.
So was that the biggest challenge that came up kind of like in these early months, or was there something else? Like, what for you sticks out raising your kids through this first year that was like, man, this is really hard and I did not expect to feel this way? Or
Which is another thing, is the whole formula thing. That was also pretty scary.
Oh yeah, because you guys
the formula shortage.
Oh, you guys are like newborns right when all of that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, they were 3 or 4 months old when the whole thing happened with Similac, with the contamination, and then all of that was pulled, and then everyone flocked to all the other brands, and everything was gone. And it was, and in some cases, for some families, you have babies that can thrive and adapt to any formula, and they're fine. Unfortunately, with Brecken and London, they've had a lot of sensitivity issues with their tummies, so we had to find one that they wouldn't spit up, throw up, whatever. And unfortunately, that one was very, very hard to find. We were using Enfamil Gentilese. That was like the one that we found that was working the absolute best, that they enjoyed, that they would finish. Obviously, normal spit up is fine, but there was no screaming and gas pains and vomiting and things like that, because that can happen for some babies out there who do have sensitive digestion issues.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That had to have been so stressful.
A lot of people were saying, well, but what about breast milk? And we did look into
breast milk banks or something.
People donating breast milk, but all of the people that were willing to donate to us, it wasn't through a bank. And so I was very cautious on like, well, the milk's not screened. I'm sure the milk is probably fine. They have kids of their own. They've donated it to other parents. I just, both of us didn't feel comfortable, purchasing or taking milk from someone that the milk wasn't specifically screened, just to make sure if there's any potential issues. Like we don't know what they're eating, if they're drinking, things like that. You would assume, people who are donating milk are doing everything that they can to have it be as perfect as possible. But at the end of the day, it just didn't work out. And unfortunately, our surrogate was unable to produce because we were relying on her to do breast milk. She was going to pump, and we had the whole service, the breast milk service of like the box was shipped to her. She had all the bags. She would freeze the milk, send it to us, all that. And when she got to the hospital and the babies were born, she had tried, and she's like, I'm not producing. I'm not able to pump anything out. I don't think this is going to work. And we were kind of like, okay, no problem. We were like, we'll just do formula. But that was also prior to the formula shortage. So miraculously, now that they're on whole milk, every time I go to Target or the grocery store and I see formula, it's just fully stocked on the shelves. And I'm like, really? Like they just stopped formula a month ago, and now everything is,
fine.
everything's
Wow.
Yeah.
So you have 3-week-olds at home, and Chris is going back to work. How do you take care of your mind and mental capacity and health, and what does that look like? I mean, it almost seems impossible.
Yeah, I think in the beginning I didn't, just because you're buried. It's a new situation that you're in, that you put yourself in on purpose because you wanted it, and you wanted it more than anything. But there were a lot of things that came up that you didn't expect. And to be honest, I did have help. I had my mom come out for the first, after they were about 2 weeks old. She came for 6 weeks to help, just because the extra help was certainly needed with 2 kids. I think if we had 1, it probably wouldn't have been as necessary. But with 2, you're kind of just like, holy smokes! I want to do the best that I can do, and we have these things in place, and this is what we're told to do. But it's still, every day is different. One day it could be super easy and smooth, and other days, Brecken or London could be super, super sensitive and fussy, and there's nothing that calms them down. Luckily, we really didn't have that happen too often. Being held really, really helped, because that brings them comfort and that security.
I am really glad we're talking about this, because it is an area that I have thought a lot about with this whole emotional mental health change when having kids, because I am somebody who, I have generalized anxiety disorder. I've struggled with depression quite a bit in my past. Michael and I both go to counseling, and I think therapy is super important for anybody.
Absolutely.
Absolutely everybody on earth needs to go to therapy, but also especially for couples. Couples therapy is great. And also for people who want to be, or who are parents, to be able to talk through things and have a sounding board and to get that additional support from somebody outside the house. So I'm just wondering, like, how did you process through this mental health journey?
The thing that I was told the most by our therapist, friends, family is just give yourself some grace, and take it one day at a time. Even though all the days are blending together and you don't remember what you had for lunch 2 days ago because you probably didn't even have lunch because you're so busy with the babes, is really just to take it one day at a time and just that you're a good parent, that you're doing the very best that you can, and that's okay. Like you don't have to follow certain guidelines or regimens to match what someone else is doing because you think that they're doing it better. Like it's your own journey. And just really, like I said, give yourself some grace and just you have to remind yourself, like, I am doing the best that I can. Doesn't mean that you don't need help. Doesn't mean that you shouldn't accept help by any means, but to not be so down on yourself. Like, and for me, like, being honest, like, I never really experienced anxiety. I had never really been depressed in my life. I've always just been happy. I don't know. I've
been able to see the positivity.
Yeah, I've just never really
situations.
had that. But then when they were a month plus, the strongest was, I think, from like maybe like a month and a half to that 3 to 4 month marker. That's when a lot of those feelings that I'd never experienced before come through with anxiety, with depression, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? Like I've never, and I had talked to so many of our like mom friends and dad friends, and they said no, like that's normal. Like you're going through so many changes, even though that change is like the best thing in your life and you're so much in love with it, it still comes with so many things that you don't expect to experience. I'm not saying everyone goes through it, but for me, like, it was a big game changer.
I think something important to just note that I keep hearing you say that we haven't really paid, I mean, we haven't acknowledged, but you kept telling people and talking about it with people about how you're feeling.
Yes.
And I think that is one of the biggest things with anybody who's feeling or who is depressed or has anxiety, to talk about it with other people, because otherwise, I don't know, being alone in that is the worst place that you can be.
Absolutely.
A lot of times I just want to clam up and not tell anyone anything. But for you, when you're experiencing those things with that shame and guilt, did you feel like, should I be sharing this with other people? Should I be keeping this to myself? Am I just weak? Do I need to get through this? Like, what were you thinking?
All of those things. My biggest fear, which obviously now looking back at it, like, who gives a crap? But what will people think when I share that I'm struggling today? When this is what we wanted. We chose to have children. You wanted this. Why are you complaining? Like, we got a lot of that. And granted, yes, there were so many people who came to our defense and were like, give them some grace. Like, they're new parents. Like, yeah, they wanted this, but it doesn't mean that it's everything is supposed to be hunky dory. Hunky dory. Kathy Hilton, love you. No, just that was a struggle. But then again, after more time went on, I just started, not paying attention to that negativity, because you can't. Your focus that you want is to be on them, even if you are struggling with mental health and with those issues. You can't listen to that outside trash and the trolls, because it's not going to do you any good. And luckily, like, Chris was, again, just that person that I could, when he came home, I could cry on his shoulder if I needed to while the babies were napping, or if he's like, you need several minutes. The babies are crying the minute he walks through the door. He's like, I got this. Go what you need to do. You take whatever time you need, and then come back down when you reset. I would say 9 times out of 10 that really helped. But at the same time, therapy definitely is something that I would recommend, especially if you do struggle with anxiety, depression, etc. Just because it's someone from the out. It's not within your circle. It's someone that is. It's not your husband or wife. It's not your parent, because sometimes that can come across as like they're telling you what to do,
right.
And this person's coming from a place that's like they're separate. They're out of that circle that you have, and their job is to obviously help guide, and to help.
And just be a sounding board to help process thoughts, feelings, emotions.
A listener. That's
absolutely.
For you to just blab and just speak all of your emotions at once, and they're there to just listen. Because sometimes you don't even need them to respond. Sometimes it's just, can you listen to me? These are my feelings. You don't need to try and fix the situation, but this is what I'm feeling right now.
When so you were sharing with friends, family, your therapist about like, you're like, oh my gosh, why am I feeling this way? Like I feel so sad, but I have like everything that I've ever wanted, right?
Yeah.
In these 2 kids and a husband, and and then you decided ultimately you were like, I would like to share this with the world, right? And you had a post about postpartum depression, but from like a male perspective, right? Like not as the person who, carried the children and gave birth to them, but from the perspective of just like a parent in general. And I think that confused some people, right? And you were saying that there was, in the conversation that we had kind of before this, people were like, you don't deserve to have that, or that is not something that you have. But we looked it up, and that is something that completely happens in men. So
not as common as it is in women, for sure.
Yeah.
But and I really didn't know that I was going to receive that type of backlash when I put that video out there. I was trying to be as honest and transparent and vulnerable to say, hey, like,
bring light to something.
Yeah, this is what I'm going through right now. And I even think I said something like, most people think that PPD is only, it can only, people that experience PPD it's only in women, and it's not the case. Granted, are there different symptoms and things that every individual goes through, whether you're male or female? Absolutely. And there are things that women go through that I did not go through. Like I didn't have all their hormonal changes. My hair, obviously, did not fall out. Like there's things that, yes, I don't try and claim that those things happened to me, but the depression, the anxiety, the crying and the fatigue and the sleep depression, like all of that is still part of PPD. And
I think it's just important to also, like, when you experience a disorder of some kind, or something that something like PPD, you can experience some of the symptoms, but you don't have to experience all of them. And everybody experiences some of these things in different ways. Like even with male-female heart attacks, the symptoms are very different. It can be from a female experiencing a heart attack to a male experiencing a heart attack. And it's important to just note that different people experience different things in different ways. So just because you're experiencing part of the symptoms, but you're not experiencing other parts of the symptoms, does not diminish the fact that you're still experiencing it, I think.
Yeah.
Well, and I think it's important to like recognize that you didn't just make up that men like experience this, right? So the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders defines depression with peripartum onset as a major depressive episode during pregnancy or within 4 weeks after parturition. The actual DSM diagnosis of depression doesn't always fit how men experience depression. For men, symptoms may include frustration, agitation, irritability, an increase in dopamine-boosting activities like drinking, drugs, or gambling, and isolation. And this is like well documented within like medical literature. It's not something that Bryan said, I'm depressed, I must have postpartum depression, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think that's what maybe where people don't necessarily do a little tiny bit of research to be like, oh, he probably just made this up. Like, he's not a woman, he doesn't know.
Yeah.
So,
but it is interesting because, like, it's not, I mean, it's a different kind of situation that we're talking about still, because this is after the process of surrogacy. It's not like the process of you being the husband to a wife who gave birth. So how is it still similar to experience postpartum depression in the sense of somebody who went through surrogacy and now has babies?
Yeah. I mean, it's the same thing goes for parents who adopt newborns. I mean, there's from that video, I think we got, oh my God, like 4,000 comments on it from all different sides. And so many people were fighting the argument of saying, so you're saying because he didn't give birth specifically to his baby, you're saying parents, moms, dads that have adopted, straight couples who have gone through IVF and had to utilize surrogacy as well, who didn't physically give birth to their baby, that mom or that father can experience those same things.
Right.
And obviously when someone says that, they don't comment back. But then we also had a lot of positive, and which is why I to this day I'm still very happy that I didn't delete the video, because I almost got so close because I was getting so much hate every day on that video. There was still a decent amount of positive comments from moms, wives who have said, thank you for sharing this. My husband went through what you're going through, and society, doesn't show that men are weak, that they cry, that they can go through those types of experiences, symptoms, and feelings, by having children, or after having children. They love that I brought light to that, and love that I said it is possible, and it makes them feel maybe a little bit more valid and seen. And then
it helps to like deconstruct the stigma around like women are emotional and men aren't. It's like
Exactly.
No, we're
very
experience
emotional.
Emotions, and like maybe we just try and like
I'm a Cancer. I'm very sensitive. I'm very emotional. So
yeah, and it's like. And I think, men try and say that about women sometimes. You're like, oh, they're so emotional. It's like, no, so are you.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
You are too. You just show it differently.
You just harbor it, or you don't show it at all because you don't feel like society allows you to, because it makes you weak, or it makes you...
Yeah, we're all humans. Like, we all have very similar, like, ways that things affect us. And we all have the same amount of, like, neurotransmitters that, like, fire out of our brain. Like, our brains are all built very similarly, so...
And I think it's just very understandable to develop anxiety or depression post-birth because of all those changes that occur. Like that's, I think, what I go back in my mind thinking about, like, oh my God, that's such a big challenge. It could be the hardest thing that you've ever done in your life, like going from an independent adult to raising two kids at the same time. And not saying that is exactly how life is all the time after that point, but just making that adjustment in the initial period. And I just looked up some symptoms of sleep deprivation, because I think that could be a big part of it. When you take sleep away from somebody,
For sure.
you're at a much higher risk of emotional instability and developing depression or anxiety. So symptoms of sleep deprivation include slowed thinking, reduced attention span, worsened memory. We talked about that.
My memory's
and
terrible.
Poor or risky decision making, and lack of energy, mood changes, emotional instability, irritability, anxiety, stress, depression. Like it's all there. I don't know. There's a clear connection in it. So just being cognizant of that, moving into where we're going to future parenthood, hopefully, fingers crossed, everything works out, that we need to kind of do the homework and prepare ourselves.
Yeah, and you can prepare all you want, but because again,
it's not happening.
Because again, control freak. And Chris obviously is very organized, and so we wanted to get as much done and prepare as much as we could prior.
An amazing job. I mean, like, you had so many things of like, okay, we're getting this ready, and this is our nursery, and we have all these things kind of like set up, and I was like, oh my God, they're like on the ball. Like,
yeah, y'all seem like you have it put together.
I mean,
I'm taking notes.
I don't mean to like toot my own horn, but I do feel like the things toot. I think the things that Chris and I did complete and take care of prior to them arriving did indeed help, for sure. I'm not saying that, but once they're here, all of that preparation could go out the window, because your child is its own individual being, and even though they're twins, or if you have a singleton, they're gonna let you know what makes them happy, what all of their quirks and everything, and you just have to kind of roll with it. And but that's also what's beautiful about it, because at the same time you're learning from them, and you're changing from being a husband, person with no kids, to then becoming a father. And it just, like, people say the whole, like, you don't know love until you have love for a child. Like, I didn't, no one really knows what that means until you have it. And obviously, yes, there is that different love, but it changes you in a good way. Things that used to be really important to Chris and I are not so important anymore. Like, I obviously like to keep the house as tidy as possible, but there are some days where it's just like, that can just stay, and that can be handled this weekend. I don't have the energy, I don't have the time, I don't care, because my time is now with them.
So you're telling us that even with all of the difficulties of making this adjustment, it's still worth it?
Absolutely.
Were you doubting it?
No, but I just wanted to hear.
Absolutely. It will be the biggest life-changing experience you'll have. Obviously, up until, you starting your journey, you getting married was probably your biggest, most exciting, life-changing experience.
Yeah, it's all right.
Yeah, so
I'm kidding.
but then if and when a couple decides that they want to have a family, that is a big, if not, like I said, the biggest life-changing experience. But I will say, along with like mental health and balancing life, you also can't forget about your husband, your wife, your spouse. Like, yes, your kids are probably the number one thing, most important thing in your life. However, your relationship with your spouse is just as important, because you want to make sure that the two of you are communicating and that you're on the same page and that you support one another and that both of you still feel connected and loved, to be able to provide that positive relationship to your kids and to be able to show them what love, what a family, looks like. And a lot of people like always say like, oh no, like my husband and I, like we haven't gone on a date for months. We haven't had sex in over a year because it's just not a priority. And every couple is different. And in the beginning, absolutely, a lot of that stuff just goes out the window because you're just so bombarded with everything going on with bringing home your newborns. But at the end of the day, at least in our opinion, in order to have a successful marriage and to be the best family that you can be, you need to make sure that you also take care of not only yourself, but that you also take the time to spend quality time with your person, because they were there with you from the beginning, and you need to make sure that you still have that partnership and level of understanding.
Okay, so I know that we have talked a lot about the mental health and just like kind of getting through it when babies come, and how do you change as a person, and how do you really like take that in stride, and also just paying attention to, hello, it's a great thing, it's a life-changing thing, and it's good, like overall it's good. It's not like you're not coming here being like, having babies is horrible. It's like, this has been amazing, and it's changed your life forever.
Even on the hardest day, you look at them and you're like, I wouldn't change this for anything. I wouldn't. And there were several hard days where you're just like so defeated and so like I don't know if I can continue doing this the way we're doing it. And then you just see them and it just doesn't all go away, but it just gives you that reassurance of like they're looking at you even though they're sleeping, and they have a little grin, and you're like, Daddy, you're doing something right. You're doing good. We're here.
That's reassuring.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
So wrapping up, what tips and tricks would you give other prospective parents or new parents,
or prospective parents sitting on this couch
like us?
For us, I can't stress enough, the routine for Brecken and London and for Chris and I like has been game changer for us. Obviously, in the very beginning stages, you're still kind of working out all the kinks and what works and what doesn't work. But once you find out what does work, stick to it. We've been very fortunate and very blessed to have two babies that sleep very well. And I know every baby is different. I see people commenting on our videos and they're like, how do you like make them go down for a nap and they just fall asleep and they don't scream for hours on end? Or how do you make them sleep 2.5 hours? Mine only sleeps 30 minutes. Like, again, every situation is different, but we did speak with a sleep train expert to help us with our routine. We actually did a partnership with 4Moms, and they introduced us to a sleep train expert. She was wonderful. And just kind of keeping on what is it? The myths of like never wake a sleeping baby. For twins, I feel like it's different, because if you have a single, if they're sleeping longer, the baby will wake up when they're hungry. They're not going to like sleep and not not want to get fed. But with twins, if you with the feeding schedule, if only one wakes up and you wake that one up to feed, and then you put that one down and say the next one wakes up 45 minutes later, you're always going to be doing something, and you're never going to have, even if you don't sleep, you're never going to have just that time to just reset and rest and maybe sleep if you can. So we were always very, very adamant about like, you know what, their next feeding is at 10. they're both sleeping or one might be stirring, we wake both of them up. And so many people were like, "What? Why would you do that?" And it's just to get them on that same schedule. We wake them up. Your brother's hungry. You're hungry. We're gonna feed you.
Totally makes sense.
Feed you. We're gonna burp you, change you. We put you down at the same time. And we just did that every single day based on the amount of time that we had to wait in between feedings, and it was a game changer. We did the cry it out method, which I know is a very sensitive topic. Some people are like, "How could you let your baby scream?" I'm like, for however long you let them.
You're like, they're always screaming.
They're always screaming. And people think like you let your baby scream for hours on end. No. There are
long do you
different
let them
levels.
scream?
The longest I think we ever let the Brecken or London, I want to say when they were younger, Brecken was more sensitive and more fussy. I think Brecken screamed, yelled, cried, maybe 30, 35 minutes. Which
okay.
It in the grand scheme of things, it
I mean,
doesn't
I've done
seem
that before.
Yeah, it doesn't seem that long, but it is like the longest.
Matthew does
30.
that every night.
Oh, stop.
I've heard every single night he cries himself to sleep. No.
Oh my god. This is so unfair.
He's like, "Good night, everybody. I have to go cry."
I'm
first."
feeling attacked.
No.
I don't know why people ask if I have any parenting history. I'm like, do you not see
This baby
this
right
baby
here,
right here that I am
the OG.
raising?
So yes, make sure to follow Bryan and Chris on Instagram, and it's Bryan and Chris on TikTok for all the parenting tips and tricks.
And as always, if you want to see what we're up to on the day-to-day,
Make sure to follow us on TikTok and Instagram. Yes, for all the exciting things. And also leave us a review. It's super helpful.
yes, please, 5 stars, 5 stars,
So
please.
other prospective parents or
Yes.
people who are interested in parenthood can find us. And
Share this with all of your friends.
yes, definitely. I just thank you so much for coming here and being so vulnerable and sharing just like what it was like going from a parent of 0 to a parent of 2 very quickly, and just how you navigated that. I think that's a really important topic and something that I was interested to know more about, because it's often been a question in the back of my mind, like, how am I ever going to get through that when it comes up?
You can do it.
I hope so.
I believe in both of you.
And we will be calling you when the babies are like 3 weeks old and we're like,
Please.
you didn't prepare us for
Please
this.
do. I'm serious. I'm more than happy to give any advice that is obviously requested. I'm not going to be like, "You're doing it wrong." No.
I will call you crying from the kitchen floor.
We're just gonna be like, you just need to fly up. We need a break. Like, you've done this before. We trust you.
Seriously, I would totally be willing to do that. We actually had a
You're gonna be careful because this is recorded.
Yeah, this is recorded.
promise. You have my word.
We have evidence.
Seriously.
Ooh.
I mean, don't be gone for a week, but if it's like a night or two, or if it's just a date night thing.
3 nights, 4 nights,
3 nights
3 nights,
max.
3
Yeah,
nights.
yeah.
Okay.
I mean, because it's just for the flight and everything. Sure. Yeah.
3 nights. Bryan and Chris are babysitting for me.
It might just be me.
It's on record.
I don't know if Chris can go, because someone will have to hold on the fort for the babes. If they're old enough, then
babes
maybe we'll
can
just bring
come
them
too.
up. Yeah, they can help. London will want to just help rock the babes.
That'd be so great. Well, we're excited to spend the rest of the time that we have here in Portland together.
I know,
and
it's
thank you for being
so
our
beautiful.
first in-person guest. You brought the
honored.
sunshine from San Diego.
did.
Up.
Stay.
And we're probably just gonna go enjoy it now.
Yes. Thank you so much for listening to Who's Your Daddy podcast.
And until next time,
Daddy's
out. Wait, do you want to do it with us?
You
Because
wanna
you're
join
an
it?
actual
Sure,
dad.
that'd be so fun.
Thanks again for listening to the Who's Your Daddy podcast. Until next time,
Daddy's out.